Hey there, my fellow literature enthusiasts. Welcome back to Fusion Films, where we dive deep beneath the surface of cinema and explore the rich tapestries woven into the very fabric of storytelling. Before we embark on today's journey, I want to invite you to like and subscribe if you enjoy thoughtful, intellectual explorations of film. No flashy gimmicks here, just genuine, heartfelt conversations about movies that speak to the soul. It means a lot to have you here, sharing in this collective passion. Now, just a quick note before we dive in, this isn't your typical movie review. What we're doing today is more of a theoretical and critical analysis aimed at those of us who cherish literature and the art of storytelling. It's a space for education and insight, where we can unpack themes, character complexities, and cinematic choices in ways that resonate on a deeper, almost literary level. So, consider this an invitation to step into a realm of thoughtful dialogue, like sitting down with close friends who love to untangle the threads of a narrative long after the credits roll. I want to start by sharing why this particular film holds a special place in my heart. On the surface, it's a raw, intense portrait of ambition, loyalty, and the harsh realities of survival. But for me, it's more than that. It echoes with personal reflections about the delicate balance between moral integrity and the seductive pull of power. It reminds me of conversations I've had, moments where the line between right and wrong blurs under pressure, and a fragile human desire to belong, to succeed, and ultimately, to leave a mark on the world. What's so compelling here is the film's intimate yet unflinching look at the intersection of dreams and desperation. It's a story that asks uncomfortable questions I've wrestled with myself, about what we're willing to sacrifice for the promise of a better life. The narrative feels both timeless and urgent, and that tension keeps pulling me back, inviting me to explore it again and again. Now, let's set the stage. This story unfolds in the gritty streets of Harlem, capturing a vivid snapshot of the early 1980s crack epidemic and the lives it upended. It centers around three young men whose paths converge in a world where trust is scarce, and the stakes are life and death. Each character embodies a different facet of ambition and survival, reflecting broader societal dynamics in a way that feels both specific and universal. The film opens by introducing us to these three friends, each with his own dreams and vulnerabilities. Their journey begins with a small but significant act, one that sets off a chain of events revealing the harsh realities and seductive allure of the drug trade. As the story unfolds, we see their relationships tested by loyalty, betrayal, and the intoxicating promise of wealth. It's a gripping narrative arc that balances personal drama with a larger social commentary, making it as thought-provoking as it is emotionally charged. One of the elements I find most fascinating is how the film doesn't shy away from the complexities of its characters. They're not heroes or villains in the traditional sense, they're deeply human, flawed, and often contradictory. This ambiguity invites us to look beyond simplistic judgments and consider the socio-economic forces that shape their choices. It's a powerful reminder of how environment and circumstance can define and confine even the most determined individuals. And then there's the storytelling itself, a blend of gritty realism and poignant moments of reflection. The dialogue crackles with authenticity, while the cinematography paints a raw, immersive portrait of Harlem streets. The pacing is deliberate, allowing the tension to build organically as we become invested in the characters' fates. It's a narrative rhythm that mirrors the unpredictable ebb and flow of life itself, full of sudden shifts and unexpected turns. Without giving away too much, I want to tease some of the major twists that make this story so compelling. There are moments when alliances crumble, revealing the fragile nature of trust in a world where survival often demands ruthless decisions. The narrative also explores the cost of ambition, not just in material terms but in the erosion of relationships and identity. These twists aren't just plot devices, they're integral to the film's meditation on human nature and society. What truly struck me was how the film captures the paradox of hope amidst despair. Even in the darkest moments, there's a yearning for something better, a dream that drives the characters forward. This tension between hope and harsh reality resonates deeply with anyone who's ever faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles. It's a reminder that stories like this aren't just about crime or hardship, they're about the human spirit and its enduring quest for meaning and dignity. As I reflect on this film, I'm reminded of why storytelling matters. It's not just about entertainment, it's about connection, empathy, and understanding. Films like this one invite us to step into lives vastly different from our own, to see the world through others' eyes, and to wrestle with difficult truths. They challenge us to question our assumptions and expand our perspectives. So, as we continue this analysis, I encourage you to bring your own insights and questions to the table. Let's explore together how this film speaks to broader themes about society, identity, power, and resilience, and what it reveals about the human condition. I'm excited to unpack these layers with you and to discover the richness hidden beneath the surface. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into a world that's as challenging as it is captivating. The story we're about to explore isn't easy, but it's one that deserves our full attention and thoughtful consideration. Together, we'll navigate its complexities and uncover the lessons it holds for all of us who love cinema not just as a pastime, but as a window into life itself. Ready? Let's begin. I want to take you with me now into the heart of the story, the beginnings of this intense, gritty journey that pulls us deep into the streets of Harlem. Picture it vividly, the early 1980s, a time when the city pulses with a restless energy, caught between hope and desperation. It's a place where dreams shimmer just out of reach, and the stakes for those who dare to chase them are impossibly high. This is the world where we meet three young men, bound by friendship and circumstance, each standing at a crossroads that will define everything. We start with Ace, a quiet, thoughtful guy whose ambitions simmer just beneath the surface. He works a modest job in a dry-cleaning shop, but there's a fire in his eyes, a hunger for something bigger than the small, confining world around him. You can almost see the weight of his dreams pressing down on him, the sense that he's waiting for the right moment to break free. Ace's calm demeanor masks a fierce determination, and you sense early on that he's someone who's not content to stay invisible. Then there's Mitch, Ace's childhood friend. Mitch is the kind of guy who feels alive in the chaos, sharp-tongued, bold, and brimming with swagger. He's the spark to Ace's steady flame, the one who pushes boundaries and tests limits. His energy is infectious but dangerous, like a wildfire that can either light a path or burn everything down. Together, their dynamic sets up a compelling tension, the steady and the reckless, the cautious and the daring. Lastly, we have Rico, the third pillar of this friendship. Rico comes from a more established background, a bit more polished and worldly. He's the connector, the one who knows how to navigate the system and the streets with equal ease. Rico brings a sense of possibility, an almost magnetic pull toward the lifestyle they all crave: wealth, respect, power. His presence hints at the world just beyond their reach, and the choices they'll face as they try to grasp it. From the very beginning, the film grounds us in this intimate trio, showing us their camaraderie, their dreams, and the harsh reality closing in around them. What's so striking here is the way the narrative carefully builds the characters with nuance. We're not just watching drug dealers or street kids. These are complex young men, full of contradictions, struggling to carve out identities in a world that seems set against them. The story's pulse quickens when Ace takes a bold step that changes everything. He decides to enter the drug trade. It's a moment that feels like a door opening onto a new, dangerous world, and the weight of that decision hangs heavily. There's no sudden thrill, no glamorous fantasy. Instead, it's a calculated risk born out of necessity and ambition. Ace starts small, working with a local dealer, learning the ropes with a careful, almost methodical approach. It's clear he wants control, not chaos. As Ace dives deeper, Mitch's influence becomes more pronounced. Mitch is the one who encourages Ace to be bolder, to push harder, and to embrace the ruthless side of this new life. The friendship between them feels like both an anchor and a spark. Mitch pushes Ace out of his comfort zone, while Ace keeps Mitch tethered to a sense of loyalty and trust. Their interactions feel real and raw, full of the kind of brotherhood that's as beautiful as it is fragile. Meanwhile, Rico's role shifts subtly but significantly. He's no longer just a friend, he's a player with his own ambitions and connections. Rico introduces an element of sophistication and strategy, guiding Ace towards smarter moves and bigger opportunities. There's a tension in their relationship, a mix of admiration and competition that adds layers to the story. It's fascinating to watch how these dynamics evolve, reflecting the broader themes of power, trust, and betrayal. One of the key moments early on is the introduction of the drug kingpin who controls the neighborhood's trade. This figure looms large in the background, a reminder of the perilous hierarchy Ace and his friends are stepping into. The tension is palpable whenever this kingpin appears, his presence a mix of threat and allure. The film does an incredible job of showing how the streets operate as a system of rules and consequences, where respect is currency and missteps can be fatal. Ace's initial foray into the business goes surprisingly well, and we see him quickly gaining respect and a small following. What stands out here is the film's attention to detail, the way Ace carefully manages his dealings, builds relationships, and avoids unnecessary violence. It's a stark contrast to the more reckless methods of some of his peers. This careful, almost businesslike approach is what makes Ace so compelling and believable as a character. You root for him because you see him trying to rewrite the rules, to succeed without losing himself. As the stakes rise, so does the danger. One early scene that really stays with me is when Ace narrowly escapes a violent confrontation. It's a stark reminder of how precarious his position is. The tension in that moment is almost unbearable, and it's shot with such intimacy that you feel every heartbeat, every drop of sweat. Moments like this pull us into the visceral reality of the world these characters inhabit, far from any glamorized version of crime or power. Meanwhile, Mitch's journey takes a darker turn. His impulsiveness begins to clash with Ace's caution, and the cracks in their friendship start to show. Mitch's recklessness leads to a series of escalating conflicts, and you can see the toll it takes not only on him but on everyone around him. It's heartbreaking in a way, watching someone self-destruct when all they really want is to be seen and respected. The film doesn't shy away from showing how the pressure of this lifestyle can erode even the strongest bonds. At the same time, Rico's world becomes more complicated. He starts to navigate alliances and rivalries that hint at a larger game beyond what Ace and Mitch initially imagined. His role as a mediator and strategist comes into sharper focus, and you sense that his ambitions may lead him down paths that could divide or unite the trio. This growing complexity adds a layer of intrigue, reminding us that survival here isn't just about muscle or money, it's about brains, loyalty, and timing. One of the most fascinating developments in this part of the story is how the film explores the impact of sudden wealth and power on the characters' identities. Ace, Mitch, and Rico begin to experience a transformation. Their clothes change, their attitudes shift, their lives become more extravagant and dangerous. But the film never lets us forget the cost of this transformation. There's an underlying melancholy that runs through these scenes, a sense that what they're chasing might be as much an illusion as a prize. This tension is embodied in a scene where Ace reflects quietly on what he's become. It's a rare, vulnerable moment that humanizes him deeply. The contrast between his humble beginnings and his current life is palpable, and it invites us to ask, at what point does success become a trap? The film resists easy answers, instead leaving us with questions that linger long after the scene fades. Interwoven through these personal stories is a broader commentary on the socio-economic forces at play. The film doesn't just show individuals making bad choices, it situates their struggles within a system that offers few alternatives. It's a subtle but powerful critique of the structural inequalities that shape the characters' lives and limit their options. This context deepens the narrative, transforming it from a simple crime story into a layered exploration of survival and agency. There's also a fascinating undercurrent of masculinity and identity running through the narrative. The characters wrestle with what it means to be a man in a world that demands toughness and resilience but often punishes vulnerability. The film portrays the struggle with empathy and nuance, showing how societal expectations shape behavior and relationships. It's a theme that resonates beyond the specific setting, touching on universal questions about strength, loyalty, and self-worth. The story reaches a pivotal point as Ace's careful plans begin to pay off. He's earned respect, built a thriving operation, and started to carve out his own space. But this success is bittersweet, shadowed by growing dangers and shifting alliances. The film masterfully balances the exhilaration of triumph with a foreboding sense that the ground beneath them is shifting. At this moment, the friendships that once seemed unbreakable start to show real strain. Mitch's reckless streak leads to a violent encounter that threatens to unravel everything Ace has built. The tension between them escalates, setting up a conflict that feels inevitable yet tragic. Rico's position becomes more ambiguous as he navigates his loyalties and ambitions, caught between the past they shared and the future he wants. Throughout these developments, the pacing is deliberate, allowing us to savor each moment and feel the weight of the characters' choices. The storytelling is immersive, pulling us into a world where every decision can tip the balance between survival and disaster. The dialogue is sharp and authentic, full of moments that reveal character and tension in equal measure. What I love most about this portion of the story is how it refuses to reduce its characters to stereotypes. Instead, we see their humanity in all its messy complexity, their hopes, fears, strengths, and flaws. This nuanced portrayal invites us to empathize with them, even when their actions are questionable. It's a rare and valuable quality that elevates the narrative beyond genre conventions. As I think back on these early scenes, I'm reminded of why stories like this matter. They give voice to experiences often overlooked, challenging us to see beyond headlines and stereotypes. They remind us that behind every headline is a human story, full of struggle, resilience, and the search for meaning. So here we are, at a point where the story has set its pieces on the board, and the players are poised for what comes next. The foundation has been laid with care and complexity, inviting us to look closer and think deeper. The characters' journeys feel intimately real, their challenges urgent and relatable. As we prepare to continue, I encourage you to hold on to these impressions, the fragile bonds of friendship, the allure and peril of ambition, the weight of choices made in shadows. These are the threads that weave through the story, connecting us to something larger than just the plot. Thank you for sharing this space with me, for being willing to dive so deeply into the texture of this narrative. There's so much more to explore, so many layers waiting beneath the surface. And as always, I'm grateful to take this journey with friends who see cinema as a gateway to understanding life itself. Ace is the kind of character who quietly lingers in the mind long after the film ends. At first glance, he appears almost reserved, a man who measures his words and actions with a cautious precision. But beneath that calm exterior simmers a potent blend of ambition, intelligence, and resilience. What makes Ace so compelling isn't just his rise within the dangerous world he inhabits, but the way he navigates it, not with brute force or reckless bravado, but with a patient, calculated mindset that speaks to a deeper hunger for control and respect. From the very start, Ace is painted as someone caught between worlds. On one side, there's the everyday grind, his job at the dry cleaning shop, his family obligations, and the familiar, if limited, life of his neighborhood. On the other, there's the seductive pull of power and wealth, a world that promises freedom but demands a steep price. His choice to enter the drug trade is not driven by naive thrill-seeking but by a pragmatic understanding of his environment. This practical approach doesn't make him any less vulnerable. In fact, it reveals an acute awareness of the precariousness of his position. Ace understands that survival here is about more than just muscle, it's about strategy, timing, and the ability to read people. What resonates on a personal level is Ace's internal conflict, the constant tension between ambition and morality. He's not the stereotypical criminal glorified by many films. Instead, he's someone wrestling with what it means to succeed without losing himself. This tension is embodied in quiet moments where he reflects on his changing identity and the costs of his newfound status. Ace's story is a reminder that power and respect are complicated currencies, often entangled with sacrifice and loss. In contrast, Mitch is a wildfire, unpredictable, passionate, and raw. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and his energy crackles with a dangerous mix of charm and volatility. Where Ace is measured and deliberate, Mitch is impulsive and daring, often acting on instinct rather than calculation. This dynamic creates a fascinating interplay between the two friends, highlighting different approaches to the same brutal environment. Mitch's charisma is undeniable. He commands attention and exudes a confidence that makes him seem larger than life. But this bravado masks a deep insecurity and a longing for validation. Throughout the story, Mitch's reckless behavior reveals a man struggling to assert control in a world that constantly threatens to overwhelm him. His actions often tip the balance between loyalty and self-destruction, making him one of the most tragic figures in the narrative. What makes Mitch's character especially poignant is his vulnerability beneath the tough exterior. The film allows us glimpses of his pain, the fractured family relationships, the yearning for belonging, and the fear of insignificance. These moments humanize him, inviting empathy even as his choices led him down dangerous paths. Mitch embodies the tension between freedom and constraint, showing how the search for identity can sometimes spiral into self-sabotage. Then there's Rico, the third corner of this triangular friendship, whose presence adds complexity and nuance to the story. Rico is smoother, more polished, with a savvy understanding of both the streets and the systems that govern them. His role feels almost dual, part friend, part strategist, navigating a world where alliances are fragile and trust is a precious commodity. Rico's background sets him apart slightly, and this difference shapes his perspective. He's less impulsive than Mitch and less introspective than Ace, often positioning himself as a mediator and negotiator. This role is both his strength and his burden, as he tries to balance loyalty to his friends with his own ambitions. Rico's character challenges simple categorization. He's neither purely heroic nor villainous but a figure shaped by circumstance and choice. One of the most fascinating aspects of Rico is how his ambition quietly unfolds beneath the surface. He is acutely aware of the limited pathways available to him and is willing to maneuver shrewdly to secure his place. This ambition sometimes places him at odds with Ace and Mitch, introducing tensions that reflect broader themes of trust, power, and survival. Rico embodies the complexity of navigating loyalty in a world where everyone has their own agenda. Together, these three characters form a compelling study in contrasts and connections. Their friendship is at the heart of the film, depicted with a raw honesty that captures both its strength and fragility. What's striking is how the narrative refuses to simplify their relationships into neat categories. Instead, it explores the nuances of brotherhood, the moments of support and betrayal, understanding and misunderstanding, love and rivalry. The interplay between Ace's cautious ambition, Mitch's volatile passion, and Rico's strategic diplomacy creates a dynamic tension that drives the story forward. Each character's choices ripple outward, affecting not only their own fates but also the delicate balance of their friendship. This layered portrayal invites us to reflect on the complexity of human relationships, especially in environments marked by pressure and danger. Beyond the trio, the film introduces other characters who deepen the thematic fabric. The drug kingpin, for instance, represents a looming presence, a figure of power whose shadow shapes the neighborhood's economy and social order. Though he appears less frequently, his influence is felt constantly, embodying the harsh realities of the drug trade's hierarchical structure. His character acts as a reminder that Ace, Mitch, and Rico are not just individuals making choices in isolation but players within a larger, unforgiving system. The women in the story also play crucial roles, providing emotional anchors and sources of tension. They offer glimpses into the characters' softer sides and their desires beyond the streets. These relationships add depth, showing how love, loyalty, and family intersect with the brutal realities the men face. The film treats these characters with care, avoiding clichés and instead portraying them as full, complex individuals. What stands out in this character ensemble is the film's refusal to indulge in black-and-white morality. Instead, it embraces complexity and contradiction, portraying people shaped by forces beyond their control yet still responsible for their choices. This approach elevates the narrative, inviting us to engage with the characters as human beings rather than archetypes. Another powerful thread woven through the characters is the exploration of masculinity, what it means to be a man in an environment that demands toughness but punishes vulnerability. Ace, Mitch, and Rico each navigate this terrain differently, reflecting diverse responses to societal expectations. Ace's quiet strength, Mitch's brash defiance, and Rico's calculated diplomacy offer a multifaceted picture of manhood under pressure. This theme resonates beyond the specific setting, touching on universal questions about identity, strength, and emotional expression. The film doesn't provide easy answers but instead presents these struggles with empathy and nuance. It invites us to consider how culture and circumstance shape behavior and relationships, and how individuals find their own ways to cope and survive. As the story progresses, we see how these character traits lead to inevitable tensions and fractures. Mitch's impulsiveness and Ace's caution collide, testing their friendship in profound ways. Rico's ambitions introduce new conflicts, forcing all three to confront the limits of loyalty. These developments feel authentic and tragic, underscoring the high stakes and the fragile nature of trust in their world. What I find especially compelling is how the film uses these characters to explore broader social and economic realities. Their struggles are not just personal dramas but reflections of systemic issues, poverty, inequality, and the lack of opportunities that push them toward dangerous choices. This context enriches the characters, making their stories resonate on multiple levels. In moments of quiet reflection, the film reveals the emotional cost of their lifestyle. We see the toll of violence, loss, and betrayal, as well as fleeting glimpses of hope and longing. These moments humanize the characters, reminding us that beneath the tough exteriors lie people yearning for connection, respect, and meaning. The character's evolution is marked by both growth and tragedy. Ace's rise is tempered by the weight of his decisions, Mitch's fiery spirit both drives and destroys him, Rico's strategic moves come with consequences that test his loyalties. Their journeys are intertwined, each shaping the other's fate in ways that feel inevitable yet heartbreaking. Ultimately, this character analysis shows us a story about more than crime or survival. It's a meditation on friendship, identity, and the search for dignity in a world stacked against them. The film invites us to look beyond the surface, to see the complexities and contradictions that make these characters deeply human. It's this depth and honesty that make the film resonate so powerfully. The characters stay with us because they feel real, flawed, vulnerable, and striving against impossible odds. They challenge us to empathize, to question, and to reflect on the ways environment, choice, and circumstance shape who we become. As we unpack these characters, I hope you felt their complexity and humanity as keenly as I do. Their stories are not just entertainment, they're invitations to understand lives often unseen, to connect with struggles that transcend the screen. And in that connection, we find something profoundly moving, a reminder of the resilience and fragility that define us all. There's something truly captivating about peeling back the layers of a film to discover the stories behind the story, the strange, surprising, and often overlooked moments that shaped its creation. When it comes to this film, the making of it is almost as compelling as the narrative itself, filled with curious anecdotes, unexpected challenges, and fascinating details that many viewers might never suspect. It's a reminder that cinema is a living, breathing process, where chance, creativity, and human connection all collide to bring a vision to life. One of the first strange facts that sets this film apart is the remarkable authenticity the cast and crew pursued from the very beginning. The filmmakers were deeply committed to capturing Harlem's raw atmosphere, not just as a backdrop, but as a living character in the story. To achieve this, much of the filming took place on location in Harlem itself during the early 2000s. This decision wasn't just a stylistic choice, it came with all the unpredictability and energy of shooting in a vibrant, real neighborhood. The production team encountered a mix of challenges and serendipities while working in Harlem. For example, local residents often spontaneously joined scenes or watched intently, creating an almost communal atmosphere on set. Sometimes, the energy from the streets would seep into the performances, adding a layer of realism that couldn't have been scripted. But filming on location also meant dealing with real-life interruptions, unexpected noise, traffic, and weather conditions forced the crew to adapt quickly. This gave the film a sense of immediacy and texture, making the streets feel alive rather than staged. Another fascinating behind-the-scenes tidbit concerns the casting. The filmmakers sought actors who could bring genuine lived experience to their roles, blending professional talent with newcomers who had intimate knowledge of the environment depicted. This mix helped create the film's gritty, authentic vibe. Notably, several cast members were cast because of their real connections to the Harlem community, lending a sincerity to their portrayals that elevated the entire production. The lead actor, portraying Ace, took his role very seriously, immersing himself in the culture and lifestyle portrayed in the film. Before filming began, he spent considerable time living in Harlem, talking with locals, and absorbing the rhythms and realities of the streets. This method approach helped him embody the character's complexities and gave the performance a depth and nuance that resonated with audiences. One of the stranger stories from production involves a scene where the actors filmed a tense street confrontation late at night. The intensity was so convincing that passers-by, unaware it was a movie shoot, called the police. This led to a surreal moment when officers arrived on the scene, only to discover the crew filming a dramatic scene. The misunderstanding was quickly cleared up, but the incident underscored just how authentic the performances and setting felt. The film's director is another fascinating figure in this story. Known for his background in hip-hop and street culture, he brought a unique perspective to the project, blending his artistic sensibilities with a deep respect for the subject matter. His personal history gave him insight into the character's world, allowing him to guide the actors with empathy and authenticity. The director's hands-on style created a collaborative atmosphere where improvisation and real emotions were encouraged, adding to the film's raw power. Another unusual production detail involves the music. The soundtrack features a mix of original compositions and carefully selected tracks that echo the era's soundscape. But what's less known is that some of the music was created on set, with musicians and performers contributing live elements that were woven into the scenes. This fusion of diegetic and non-diegetic sound blurred the lines between the story and reality, enriching the atmosphere and emotional impact. A striking and little-known fact is that some of the dialogue was improvised. The script provided a framework, but the actors were encouraged to bring their own voices and experiences into their characters' conversations. This approach produced dialogue that felt spontaneous and genuine, capturing the rhythms and slang of Harlem with impressive accuracy. It also allowed the actors to explore the emotional layers of their characters more freely, making interactions feel lived in and authentic. One of the film's most memorable scenes, a quiet, reflective moment where Ace contemplates his choices, was almost cut during editing. Early test screenings suggested it slowed the film's pace, but the director fought to keep it, believing it was essential to understanding the character's inner conflict. Thankfully, this decision endured, and that scene has become a pivotal emotional anchor in the film, revealing Ace's vulnerability and the weight of his journey. There's an interesting production story involving the costumes as well. Rather than dressing the actors in brand new outfits, the wardrobe department sourced vintage and thrifted clothing authentic to the early 80s Harlem fashion. This attention to detail added layers of authenticity to the film's visual style. Even more intriguingly, some of the actors contributed their own personal clothing, blending real-life style with character identity. These choices gave the film a lived-in feel that studio-made costumes often lack. An unexpected and somewhat surreal detail involves the use of real cash in scenes depicting drug deals. The production team opted to use actual money rather than fake bills to heighten realism, but this choice brought logistical headaches. For security, crew members had to carefully track the cash during shooting to prevent loss or theft. There's even a story about one scene where a prop bag of money was accidentally left behind on set, only to be found later by a passerby who thought it was a real windfall. This blurring of fiction and reality speaks to the film's commitment to authenticity. The film's cinematography carries its own unusual backstory. The director of photography used a mix of traditional 35mm film and handheld digital cameras to capture both polished and gritty textures. This hybrid approach gave the movie a dynamic look, shifting between smooth, composed shots and raw, almost documentary-style footage. The choice mirrored the story's balance between controlled ambition and chaotic danger, visually reinforcing the themes at play. Another fascinating behind-the-scenes note involves the casting of the drug kingpin, a character whose looming presence dominates the film's atmosphere. The actor who played this role was initially reluctant to portray a villain but was persuaded by the director to approach the character with nuance and depth. This mindset transformed what could have been a stereotypical antagonist into a complex figure, embodying both menace and a tragic dimension. The performance added gravitas to the film's exploration of power and consequence. One of the more unusual occurrences during production happened during a scene filmed in a cramped Harlem apartment. The cast and crew had to work within tight spatial constraints, which meant creative camera angles and choreography. The cramped environment fostered an intense intimacy between the actors, leading to performances that felt raw and immediate. However, the close quarters also meant that tempers occasionally flared, creating moments of real tension on set that mirror the characters' own struggles. The film's editing process was also noteworthy. The editor worked closely with the director over many months, shaping the film's rhythm with painstaking care. What's surprising is that several scenes were rearranged multiple times during post-production to find the right emotional flow. Some sequences were shortened, others extended, and a few entirely reshot. This iterative process speaks to the filmmaker's dedication to crafting a narrative that felt both gripping and thoughtful. An intriguing trivia detail is that the film was initially met with skepticism by some studio executives who doubted its commercial viability. The story's raw depiction of Harlem's drug culture and moral complexity was seen as risky. However, the filmmaker's passion and commitment won out, and the film was eventually released to critical acclaim. This journey from doubt to recognition mirrors the very themes of struggle and perseverance that define the story itself. Another little-known fact involves the use of local Harlem businesses as filming locations. Many shop owners and residents allowed the crew to shoot inside their establishments, sometimes even participating as extras. This cooperation created a genuine sense of community involvement, and the filmmakers took great care to respect and honor the neighborhood's culture. The authenticity of these settings is palpable, grounding the film in a real place and history. The script itself has an unusual origin story. It was inspired by true events and stories collected by the director and writers during years of research and interviews. This grounding in reality gave the film a documentary-like sensibility, even as it unfolded a dramatic narrative. The blending of fact and fiction created a textured story that resonates with honesty and complexity. One of the most fascinating behind-the-scenes anecdotes concerns the chemistry among the three leads. The actors formed a genuine bond off-screen, which translated into an effortless and convincing portrayal of friendship on screen. They spent time together rehearsing, sharing stories, and even hanging out around Harlem. This real-life camaraderie infused their performances with warmth and credibility, making their relationships feel lived in rather than scripted. There's also an interesting story about the film's title. Originally, the filmmakers considered several different options that reflected various aspects of the story's themes. Paid in Full was chosen not just as a catchy phrase, but because it carries a double meaning, referring to both financial success and the cost, often tragic, of that success. The title encapsulates the film's meditation on ambition, loyalty, and the price we pay for power. The film's use of language and slang is another element steeped in authenticity. Consultants and local advisors helped ensure that the dialogue reflected the vernacular of early 80s Harlem. This attention to linguistic detail gave the characters' voices a distinctive texture, grounding the film in its specific time and place. For viewers unfamiliar with the dialect, this aspect offers an immersive glimpse into the culture, while for others, it rings with familiar truth. An unexpected production challenge involved the weather. Shooting in Harlem meant contending with the city's often unpredictable conditions. There were days when sudden rainstorms forced the crew to halt filming or move scenes indoors. These interruptions, while frustrating, sometimes sparked creative solutions. The filmmakers incorporated rain-soaked streets and moody skies into scenes, heightening the film's atmospheric tension. One of the most memorable production stories is about a sequence where a car chase was planned through narrow Harlem streets. Due to logistical and safety concerns, the crew had to scale back the scene considerably. Yet, the constraints pushed the filmmakers to focus more on character reactions and close-up tension rather than elaborate stunts. The result is a scene that's intense and claustrophobic, demonstrating how limitations can fuel creativity. The film also has a subtle but effective use of symbolism throughout, which was carefully designed during production. For example, recurring motifs like the street corner, the crack house, and the characters' changing wardrobes serve as visual metaphors for transformation, danger, and the fragility of power. These elements were thoughtfully woven into the shooting script and reinforced during editing, adding layers of meaning that reward close viewing. Another strange but true fact involves a minor but memorable scene where a local child appears briefly in the background. That child was not an actor but a neighborhood kid who wandered onto the set during filming. The director liked the natural innocence and included the footage in the final cut. This unplanned moment adds an extra dimension to the film, a quiet reminder of life continuing amid the chaos and danger. There's also the story of the film's premiere, which was a low-key affair held in Harlem itself. The choice to premiere locally was a deliberate statement, celebrating the community that inspired the film. Attendees included many of the people who had helped during production, shop owners, extras, and neighbors, making the event feel like a shared triumph. This community-centric approach stood in contrast to the usual glitzy premieres and underscored the filmmakers' respect for their roots. On a more technical note, the film employed some innovative lighting techniques to capture the urban landscape at night. Cinematographers used practical streetlights, neon signs, and car headlights to create moody, atmospheric scenes. This approach lent an authentic glow to the city's nocturnal scenes, avoiding artificiality and enhancing the immersive quality. An unusual casting decision involved a well-known rapper who was offered a small role but declined, feeling it didn't align with his artistic vision. Instead, the role went to a relatively unknown actor whose performance surprised many and became a highlight. This casting twist speaks to the film's openness to fresh talent and its commitment to authenticity over star power. The film's production schedule was tight, with many scenes shot in rapid succession. This pace put pressure on the cast and crew but also fostered a sense of urgency and focus that translated into the final product. The tight schedule is often credited with keeping the energy high and performances raw. Another quirky trivia point involves a pet dog that appears in one of the scenes. The dog was not originally scripted but was a stray that wandered onto the set during filming. The crew embraced the unexpected visitor, who ended up becoming a small but beloved part of the film's texture. Throughout the production, the filmmakers remained committed to portraying Harlem with respect and complexity. They avoided sensationalism, instead striving for a balanced portrayal that acknowledged both the beauty and the struggles of the community. This ethical approach influenced many production choices, from casting to location scouting, and shaped the film's overall tone. Lastly, there's a fascinating story about the film's lasting impact. Years after its release, it has become a cult classic, studied in film schools and discussed for its cultural significance. Its influence has extended beyond cinema, inspiring music, fashion, and even local activism. This legacy is a testament to the film's deep roots in real-life experiences and its enduring resonance. These strange facts and behind-the-scenes stories enrich our understanding of the film, reminding us that every frame carries the weight of countless decisions, risks, and moments of magic. They invite us to appreciate the craft and dedication involved, and to see the film not just as entertainment, but as a living document of a time, place, and community. There's something profoundly stirring about certain moments in a film, those pivotal scenes and events that linger long after the screen goes dark, echoing in our minds and emotions. The movie we're exploring is packed with such moments, each carefully crafted not only to advance the narrative but also to invite us into a deeper, more critical conversation about life, power, loyalty, and identity. As we unpack these significant events, I want us to look beyond just what happens on the surface. Let's explore how these moments shape the film's impact, why they resonate emotionally, and how they provoke thoughtful reflection. One of the earliest and most significant events is Ace's decision to step into the drug trade. At first glance, this might seem like a straightforward plot catalyst, an entry into danger and ambition, but from a critical perspective, it's much more layered. Ace's choice isn't reckless or impulsive, it's a calculated response to systemic limitations and personal desperation. This moment challenges us to consider the socio-economic forces at play. A young man with limited opportunities sees a perilous path that promises agency and respect. It's a commentary on structural inequality, and it forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes the line between right and wrong is blurred by circumstance. This event marks the beginning of a transformation, not just for Ace, but for the film itself. The narrative shifts from the innocence of friendship and dreams to the harsher terrain of power struggles and moral ambiguity. Critically, this turning point invites us to engage with themes of ambition and survival, highlighting the costs and compromises that come with choosing a dangerous path. It's a moment rich with tension, setting the emotional tone for what follows. Closely tied to this is the evolving dynamic between Ace and Mitch. Their friendship embodies a profound tension throughout the film, a bond forged in childhood but tested by the pressures of their new lives. Mitch's reckless energy contrasts sharply with Ace's calculated approach, and their relationship becomes a crucible for exploring loyalty, trust, and the fragility of brotherhood. From a critical viewpoint, their interactions reveal how environments steeped in violence and desperation can distort even the strongest human connections. One event that crystallizes this tension is the violent confrontation sparked by Mitch's impulsiveness. This incident is not just an act of physical aggression, it symbolizes the destructive potential of unchecked emotion in a world that demands control. The film uses this moment to explore how anger and insecurity can unravel relationships and escalate cycles of violence. Emotionally, it's a heartbreaking scene that exposes vulnerabilities and raises questions about fate and free will. Rico's role during these escalating conflicts is equally critical. His attempts to mediate and strategize highlight the complex interplay of power, loyalty, and survival in their world. From a critical perspective, Rico represents a pragmatic response to chaos, embodying the tension between personal ambition and communal bonds. His actions raise important questions about the price of success and the compromises required to navigate entrenched systems. This adds a layer of political and social critique to the film, enriching its thematic depth. Another key event is the film's depiction of wealth and its corrosive effects. As Ace's operation grows, so too does his access to money, luxury, and status. Yet, the film doesn't romanticize this rise. Instead, it shows the double-edged nature of success. The accumulation of wealth brings not only power but also alienation, paranoia, and loss. This nuanced portrayal invites us to critically examine the myth of the American dream and the idea that financial success guarantees happiness or security. One scene that vividly captures this theme is Ace's quiet reflection on his changing life. The cinematography and pacing slow here, allowing us to sit with the character's internal conflict. This moment is a powerful emotional anchor, revealing the loneliness and weight that come with his choices. Critically, it underscores the film's meditation on identity and the cost of ambition, themes that resonate far beyond the narrative's immediate context. The film's portrayal of violence deserves particular attention. Rather than glorify or sensationalize it, the story treats violence as a devastating consequence of systemic failures and personal desperation. Key violent events are framed not as thrilling spectacles but as moments of loss and trauma, emphasizing their impact on individuals and communities. This critical approach challenges viewers to rethink common portrayals of violence in cinema and to recognize the human toll behind the headlines. One poignant example is the scene depicting a sudden, brutal shooting. The camera lingers not on action or heroics but on the aftermath, the stunned faces, the shattered relationships, the silence that follows. This choice forces the audience into empathy rather than voyeurism, making the violence deeply affecting and thought-provoking. It's a moment that embodies the film's commitment to realism and emotional honesty. Family relationships also play a critical role in shaping the film's emotional and thematic resonance. The characters' ties to parents, siblings, and partners reveal the personal stakes behind their decisions and underscore the tension between individual desires and communal responsibilities. The film's nuanced portrayal of these relationships adds depth, showing how love and loyalty coexist with conflict and pain. A particularly moving event is Ace's interactions with his mother and sister. These scenes offer a glimpse into his softer side and highlight the burden of expectations and guilt he carries. From a critical standpoint, these moments humanize the protagonist and ground the narrative in universal themes of family, sacrifice, and belonging. They remind us that the character's struggles aren't isolated but embedded in larger social and emotional networks. The role of women in the story, while sometimes secondary, is also vital to its thematic texture. Female characters serve as emotional anchors, moral compasses, and sources of tension. Their experiences and perspectives provide a counterpoint to the predominantly male world of the drug trade, enriching the narrative's complexity. Critically, their presence challenges traditional genre conventions and invites reflection on gender dynamics in harsh environments. Another significant event is the unraveling of trust within the central trio. As ambition and paranoia grow, the bonds between Ace, Mitch, and Rico fray, leading to betrayal and tragedy. This breakdown is both personal and symbolic, reflecting how systems of violence and power corrode human relationships. The film's exploration of betrayal resonates emotionally because it's grounded in the character's history and shared dreams, making the losses feel intimate and devastating. This theme is crystallized in a climactic confrontation that serves as a turning point for the narrative. The scene's tension is heightened by the characters' intertwined loyalties and fears, and its emotional weight stems from years of building conflict. From a critical perspective, the event speaks to broader questions about the costs of survival and the fragile nature of trust in environments defined by scarcity and danger. The film's conclusion, while tragic, offers a sobering reflection on the cyclical nature of violence and ambition. Rather than providing neat resolutions, it leaves viewers with lingering questions about fate, choice, and redemption. This open-endedness invites ongoing dialogue and interpretation, encouraging viewers to engage critically with the story's themes and their relevance to real-world issues. Throughout the film, the use of setting and atmosphere plays a crucial role in amplifying thematic concerns. Harlem itself is portrayed not just as a backdrop but as a living, breathing entity that shapes and reflects the character's experiences. The streets, buildings, and social spaces are imbued with history and tension, grounding the narrative in a specific cultural and socio-economic context. Critically, the film's attention to environment emphasizes the interconnectedness of personal and structural forces. The characters' struggles are inseparable from the neighborhood's realities, highlighting issues of poverty, racism, and systemic neglect. This grounding in place deepens the film's social critique and enhances its emotional impact. The soundtrack and sound design also contribute to the film's critical resonance. Music underscores the emotional beats and cultural setting, while moments of silence or ambient noise heighten tension and realism. These auditory choices enrich the storytelling, creating an immersive experience that complements the visual narrative. Finally, the film's reception reflects its complex interplay of entertainment, education, and social commentary. Critics and audiences alike have praised its authenticity, emotional depth, and unflinching portrayal of difficult realities. Yet, the film also sparked debates about representation, morality, and the responsibilities of storytelling. These discussions highlight the power of cinema to provoke reflection and dialogue. In sum, the film's significant events, examined through a critical lens, reveal a story rich with thematic complexity and emotional nuance. From Ace's initial choice to enter a dangerous world, through the tensions of friendship and ambition, to the tragic consequences of violence and betrayal, every moment contributes to a powerful meditation on human resilience and vulnerability. This layered storytelling invites us to look beyond surface action, engaging with questions that resonate deeply within and beyond the screen. There's a special kind of magic that happens behind the scenes of a film, a blend of artistry, chance, hard work, and unexpected moments that come together to create the final piece we see on screen. With this film, that magic is woven tightly into every frame, and the story of its making is almost as compelling as the story it tells. As we journey through the production insights and fun facts, I want to share with you the rich tapestry of experiences, challenges, and creative sparks that shaped this powerful movie. From the outset, the filmmakers were determined to capture not just a story set in Harlem, but Harlem itself, its textures, rhythms, and spirit. This commitment drove many production decisions, starting with the choice to shoot largely on location in the actual neighborhoods depicted in the film. Filming in Harlem wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about immersing the cast and crew in the environment, letting the streets, sounds, and people inform the performances and the visual style. Shooting on location in Harlem brought a unique energy to the production, but it also came with unpredictable challenges. The crew often had to navigate the real-life hustle and bustle of a living neighborhood. Passing traffic, local residents, and the everyday noise of city life meant the team needed to be flexible and creative. Sometimes, scenes were interrupted by spontaneous moments, a street performer stepping into frame. There's a memorable story from one particular night shoot where the cast was filming a tense street confrontation. The actors' performances were so raw and convincing that some local residents, unaware it was a production, called the police. The arrival of law enforcement on set added an unexpected twist, and the crew had to quickly explain the situation. The incident became a talking point among cast and crew, highlighting just how immersive and authentic the performances felt, so much so that reality and fiction blurred. Casting was another cornerstone of the film's authenticity. The filmmakers sought actors who could bring real-life experience and cultural understanding to their roles. Some cast members were newcomers from the community, whose natural mannerisms and familiarity with Harlem's dialect and culture enriched the dialogue and interactions. This mix of professional actors and local talent created a powerful dynamic on screen, where scripted lines merged seamlessly with spontaneous moments. The lead actor, who portrayed Ace, took a deeply immersive approach to his role. Before filming began, he spent months living in Harlem, building relationships with locals, and observing the daily life around him. This experience informed his performance, lending it a layered subtlety and credibility. The actor didn't just play the part, he inhabited the world of the character, allowing viewers to feel the nuances of ambition, fear, and hope that drive Ace's journey. Costume design played a significant role in establishing the film's period authenticity. The wardrobe team sourced vintage clothing, digging through thrift shops and collections to find pieces true to early 80s Harlem fashion. This meticulous attention to detail extended beyond mere aesthetics. The costumes became extensions of character identity. Interestingly, some actors contributed personal clothing to their costumes, blurring the line between character and self and adding a natural ease to their movements and interactions. The production's approach to dialogue was equally thoughtful. While the script provided a solid framework, actors were encouraged to improvise and bring their own voices into the scenes. This method fostered genuine exchanges that captured the cadences and slang of the neighborhood with striking accuracy. The result is a dialogue that feels lived in and vibrant, reflecting the complexity and diversity of the community. Sound and music were carefully woven into the fabric of the film to enhance mood and authenticity. The soundtrack features a mix of original compositions and classic tracks that evoke the era's cultural landscape. An interesting behind-the-scenes fact is that some of the music was recorded live on set, with musicians and performers contributing ambient sounds and rhythms that blended into the scenes. This fusion of sound added a layer of immediacy and emotional resonance, grounding the film's atmosphere in a rich auditory experience. The director's personal background in hip-hop culture informed many creative decisions. His understanding of the community's artistic and social dynamics helped him guide the actors and shape the narrative with sensitivity and respect. Known for his collaborative approach, the director fostered an environment where cast and crew felt empowered to explore their characters and scenes deeply, resulting in performances that are raw yet nuanced. Filming logistics sometimes pushed the crew to their limits, especially given the tight shooting schedule. Scenes were often shot in rapid succession, requiring meticulous planning and quick adaptation. One notable challenge was filming in tight urban spaces. Cramped apartments, narrow stairwells, and busy street corners demanded inventive camera work and choreography. The cinematographer employed a mix of handheld and static shots to capture both the intimacy and chaos of the characters' lives, balancing polished visuals with gritty realism. A fun anecdote involves a stray dog that wandered onto the set during a street scene. The crew welcomed the unexpected visitor, who became a minor but memorable presence in the film. This unplanned addition added a touch of everyday life and unpredictability, reminding everyone that despite the dramatic narrative, the film's world is rooted in real community. The use of real cash in drug deal scenes added another layer of authenticity, but also logistical headaches. The production team had to carefully track the money throughout shooting to avoid loss or theft. There's a humorous story about one scene where a prop bag of money was accidentally left behind, only to be found later by a local passerby, who initially thought it was a real windfall. This blurring of fiction and reality underscores the film's immersive approach. Lighting played a crucial role in shaping the film's mood, especially in night scenes. Instead of relying heavily on artificial setups, the cinematographer used practical light sources, street lamps, neon signs, and car headlights, to create moody, atmospheric visuals. This technique contributed to the film's raw aesthetic, emphasizing the tension and unpredictability of the urban night. Behind the camera, the crew developed close bonds, partly because of the demanding shooting conditions and shared commitment to the project. The tight-knit team atmosphere fostered collaboration and creativity. There were moments of tension, naturally, but also laughter and camaraderie that helped sustain energy during long days. The editing process was extensive and meticulous. The editor worked closely with the director to shape the story's rhythm, experimenting with scene order and pacing to maximize emotional impact. Several sequences were trimmed or reworked based on test screenings, showing the team's openness to refining the film in pursuit of storytelling clarity. An interesting tidbit is that the film's title, chosen late in production, carries a double meaning, reflecting both financial success and the costs, often tragic, that come with it. This layered title encapsulates the film's core themes and was the subject of much discussion among the creative team. Premiere night was a meaningful occasion, held in Harlem itself as a tribute to the community that inspired the story. Many local residents, shop owners, and extras attended, turning the event into a celebration of shared history and culture. This choice broke from Hollywood tradition, reinforcing the film's roots and the filmmakers' respect for their subject matter. The film's legacy extends beyond the screen. Its influence can be seen in music, fashion, and urban storytelling, inspiring a new generation of artists and filmmakers. It's studied in classrooms and discussed in cultural forums as a touchstone of authentic, socially conscious cinema. Reflecting on the film's production journey reveals a tapestry of dedication, innovation, and respect. From casting to location, sound to editing, every choice was infused with a desire to honor the story's truth. These behind-the-scenes insights deepen our appreciation, reminding us that great films are not just made, they are lived, shaped by countless hands and moments of inspired creativity. There's a particular kind of storytelling that happens when a film setting isn't just a backdrop, but a living, breathing character, a world that shapes the narrative, influences the characters, and seeps into every frame. This film is a masterclass in such immersive storytelling, where the streets, buildings, and spaces of Harlem aren't simply places to stage action, but vital elements that pulse with life and meaning. As we journey through the film's settings and cinematic elements, we'll see how these choices enrich the story, deepen its emotional resonance, and create an atmosphere so vivid that you feel transported into the heart of that world. From the opening scenes, the film situates us firmly in Harlem, not the sanitized or romanticized version, but the gritty, vibrant neighborhood of the early 1980s. This period was a time of tumultuous change, marked by economic hardship, cultural shifts, and the devastating crack epidemic. The filmmakers embraced this complexity, portraying Harlem with a raw honesty that refuses to gloss over its struggles while also capturing its undeniable vitality and spirit. Much of the filming took place on location, with real streets, storefronts, and apartment buildings forming the canvas for the story. This choice was deliberate, aiming to root the film in an authentic sense of place. Walking through these scenes, you can almost hear the city's ambient sounds, the distant sirens, the chatter of neighbors, the hum of traffic, all layered to create a textured soundscape that envelopes the viewer. The physical setting shapes every aspect of the characters' lives. The cramped apartments, narrow stairwells, and bustling street corners are not just scenery but spaces that reflect the pressures and dynamics at play. For example, many of the pivotal conversations and confrontations unfold in tight, confined spaces, emphasizing the claustrophobia and tension that define the characters' experiences. These intimate settings heighten the emotional stakes, making every glance and gesture feel charged with meaning. The film also uses public spaces, stoops, basketball courts, corner stores, as communal hubs where social dynamics play out. These locations capture the neighborhood's social fabric, revealing how relationships, alliances, and rivalries are woven into daily life. The portrayal of these spaces offers a nuanced look at community, its strength, complexity, and vulnerabilities. One striking visual motif is the contrast between interior and exterior spaces. Interiors are often dimly lit, cramped, and shadowed, reflecting the characters' internal struggles and the oppressive forces surrounding them. In contrast, exterior scenes sometimes open up into broader, sunlit streets or nighttime cityscapes, evoking a fleeting sense of freedom or danger. This interplay visually echoes the tension between confinement and escape that runs through the story. Cinematographically, the film employs a dynamic mix of techniques to capture the texture and mood of Harlem. The director of photography uses a combination of steady, composed shots and handheld camera work, creating a visual rhythm that alternates between control and chaos. The handheld sequences, often used during moments of tension or violence, immerse the viewer in the immediacy and unpredictability of street life. These raw, kinetic shots contrast with more composed scenes, which allows space for reflection and emotional depth. Lighting is another key element that shapes the film's atmosphere. Naturalistic lighting dominates, with many scenes bathed in the warm, golden hues of late afternoon or the cold blue tones of night. Practical light sources, street lamps, neon signs, car headlights, are frequently used to create moody, textured environments. This approach avoids the artificial gloss of studio lighting, instead grounding the visuals in a lived reality. The film's color palette subtly supports its themes and emotional tones. Earthy browns, faded blues, and muted grays predominate, evoking both the decay and resilience of the neighborhood. Splashes of brighter colors, a red jacket, neon signage, graffiti, punctuate the scenes, signaling moments of passion, danger, or cultural vibrancy. This careful use of color helps convey mood and character psychology without overt exposition. Sound design plays an equally vital role in building the film's immersive world. Ambient noises are layered carefully to create a rich aural environment. The clatter of footsteps on pavement, distant conversations, music drifting from a nearby radio, these elements envelop the audience, making Harlem feel palpably alive. Silence is used strategically too, heightening tension or underscoring moments of introspection. Music selection is deeply tied to setting and character. The soundtrack blends era-appropriate hip-hop, soul, and funk with original score compositions. These choices ground the film in its cultural moment and underscore emotional beats. Music often bridges scenes or punctuates transitions, weaving a sonic thread that connects personal drama with broader social currents. Architecturally, the film captures Harlem's unique urban landscape, the brownstones, public housing projects, corner stores, and street murals that tell stories of history, struggle, and community pride. The filmmakers pay close attention to these details, using them not only as visual interest but as symbols of place and identity. The presence of graffiti, for instance, is more than decoration, it's a mark of voice and resistance, reflecting the characters' realities and aspirations. The film's depiction of movement within this environment is also noteworthy. Characters navigate streets on foot, in cars, or by public transit, and these journeys are shot to convey more than just physical travel. The camera often lingers on the changing landscape as characters move through it, suggesting shifts in mood, power, or fate. These sequences emphasize the interplay between individual agency and structural constraints, highlighting how place shapes possibility. A particularly memorable sequence uses slow-motion cinematography to capture a moment of violent confrontation. The technique amplifies the emotional intensity and forces the viewer to witness the unfolding tragedy in stark detail. This scene exemplifies how visual style can deepen narrative impact, turning a moment of chaos into a meditation on consequence and loss. The film also uses framing and composition to reflect psychological states. Characters are often positioned within tight frames or partially obscured by objects, visually representing entrapment or isolation. Conversely, moments of connection or hope are framed with more open compositions, allowing space for emotional breathing. These visual choices subtly guide the viewer's emotional engagement and underscore thematic concerns. Another cinematic element worth noting is the use of mirrors and reflections throughout the film. These shots often appear when characters face moral dilemmas or moments of self-realization. The reflections serve as metaphors for duality, the conflict between who the characters are and who they aspire to be, or between appearance and reality. This motif enriches the narrative, inviting viewers to look deeper into the characters' inner lives. The film's editing style complements its visual storytelling, balancing a steady pace with moments of heightened urgency. The editor carefully modulates rhythm, allowing tension to build gradually before delivering impact-filled climaxes. Cross-cutting is used effectively to juxtapose different storylines or perspectives, revealing connections and contrasts that deepen understanding. Transitions between scenes are often handled with subtle visual or auditory cues, a fading street sound, a lingering glance, or a shift in lighting, creating a seamless narrative flow. This approach maintains immersion, avoiding jarring cuts that might pull the audience out of the story's world. Camera angles also play a significant role in conveying power dynamics. Low-angle shots emphasize dominance or threat, while high-angle shots suggest vulnerability or entrapment. The film uses these angles thoughtfully to enhance character relationships and narrative tension. The choice of lenses impacts the film's aesthetic as well. Wider lenses capture the sprawling urban environment, situating characters within their broader context. In contrast, tighter lenses focus on faces and details, bringing intimacy and emotional nuance. This interplay between scope and closeness mirrors the film's thematic oscillation between social forces and personal stories. Lighting during night scenes deserves special mention. The interplay of shadows and artificial light creates an atmosphere thick with tension and ambiguity. Scenes illuminated by flickering streetlights or neon signs feel charged, as if danger or revelation could emerge at any moment. This visual mood supports the film's themes of uncertainty, risk, and survival. The film's color grading subtly enhances emotional undertones. Warmer tones are used in scenes of camaraderie or fleeting happiness, while cooler or desaturated hues dominate moments of conflict or despair. This color storytelling enriches the viewer's subconscious experience, reinforcing the narrative without words. Sound bridges, the use of sound to connect scenes, are employed with finesse. The hum of city life or a distant melody often carries over from one scene to the next, linking disparate moments and reinforcing the film's cohesive sense of place. This auditory continuity helps immerse the viewer, creating a seamless flow of experience. An often overlooked but powerful cinematic element is the use of silence. In key moments, the film strips away sound to focus attention on visual cues and character emotions. These pauses create space for reflection, allowing the weight of the narrative to settle deeply. Silence becomes a tool of tension and emotional gravity. Costuming and set design complement the visual storytelling by grounding characters in their socio-economic reality. The worn textures of clothing, the clutter of living spaces, and the peeling paint on walls all tell stories of endurance and hardship. These details are not just background, they actively shape the mood and authenticity of the film. One particularly evocative scene features a slow pan across a mural painted on a Harlem building. The artwork, vibrant, defiant, and culturally rich, stands in stark contrast to the surrounding decay. This visual juxtaposition symbolizes the community's resilience and pride amid adversity, echoing the film's themes of hope and struggle. The film's opening sequence sets the tone immediately, using a combination of urban sounds, close-up shots of street life, and a measured pace to immerse the viewer. This introduction is less about exposition and more about feeling, drawing us into the atmosphere and emotional texture of the world the characters inhabit. Throughout the film, windows and doorways are recurring visual elements. They represent thresholds between safety and danger, past and future, confinement and possibility. Characters are often framed within these boundaries, visually expressing their trapped or transitional states. The use of graffiti and street art serves not only as a visual flourish but also as a narrative device. These images reflect themes of identity, resistance, and voice. The film captures graffiti both as spontaneous expression and as a coded language within the community, enriching the cultural tapestry. Weather and natural elements subtly influence the film's mood. Rain, for instance, often accompanies moments of turmoil or change, washing over streets and characters alike. The sound and sight of rain create a cleansing yet somber atmosphere, underscoring themes of renewal and loss. Urban decay is portrayed with a painter's eye, emphasizing textures, cracked sidewalks, rusted fire escapes, and worn signage. These details anchor the film in a specific time and place, reminding viewers of the social and economic realities shaping the story. Lighting inside characters' homes often contrasts with the exterior environment. Warm, sometimes flickering indoor lights create pockets of intimacy and refuge amid the harshness outside. This contrast visually reinforces the tension between personal sanctuary and external threat. In moments of high tension, the film employs rapid cuts and tight framing to convey urgency and claustrophobia. These choices put the viewer in the character's shoes, experiencing the adrenaline and pressure firsthand. Conversely, scenes of reflection and dialogue often use longer takes and wider shots, allowing emotions to unfold naturally. This balance between pace and stillness contributes to the film's emotional complexity. The film's sound mixing carefully balances dialogue, ambient noise, and music, ensuring clarity while maintaining the richness of the environment. This careful layering supports immersion and emotional engagement. Visual symbolism appears in recurring objects, a clock, a photograph, a piece of jewelry, each carrying thematic weight related to time, memory, and identity. These objects provide subtle cues that reward attentive viewing. The film's closing shots return us to the streets, framing characters against the cityscape in a way that suggests continuation beyond the story's end. This visual choice leaves the narrative open, reflecting the ongoing nature of the struggles depicted. In sum, the film's setting and cinematic elements combine to create an immersive, emotionally resonant experience. Every location, frame, and sound is carefully chosen to deepen our understanding of the characters and their world. Through this rich tapestry, the film invites us not only to witness a story but to feel its heartbeat, the pulse of a community, the weight of dreams, and the shadow of consequences. There's an undeniable magic that happens behind the scenes of a film, moments filled with laughter, tension, surprise, and resilience that shape not only the making of the movie but also the spirit of everyone involved. The story behind the camera is often as rich and compelling as the story on screen, and with this film, the journey from script to screen was no exception. As we dive into these behind-the-scenes insights, I want to share with you the vibrant tapestry of experiences, the fun, the struggles, and the camaraderie that brought this powerful film to life. From the very first day of shooting, the energy on set was electric. Filming in the heart of Harlem infused the production with authenticity and immediacy, but it also meant that the cast and crew had to adapt quickly to the realities of shooting in a bustling, living neighborhood. Early on, the director set a tone of collaboration and respect, encouraging everyone to embrace the unpredictability of the environment rather than resist it. This mindset created a sense of shared purpose that carried through the entire shoot. One of the most memorable moments came during the filming of a crowded street scene. The production had coordinated extras and choreography to simulate a busy Harlem block, but just as cameras started rolling, a local musician arrived with his saxophone and began playing right on the corner. Instead of halting the scene, the director embraced the impromptu performance, incorporating it into the shot. This unexpected addition added a layer of vibrancy and spontaneity that none of the rehearsals could have predicted. It became a defining moment, capturing the spirit of the neighborhood in a way that felt raw and alive. The relationship among the lead actors was another cornerstone of the film's production. The trio who portrayed the central friends spent considerable time together off camera, bonding over shared meals, conversations, and visits around Harlem. This genuine camaraderie translated into palpable chemistry on screen, where their interactions felt less like acted scenes and more like snapshots of real friendship. They supported and challenged each other, pushing for authenticity and emotional truth. There's a charming anecdote about the actors' pre-shoot ritual. Before every day of filming, they would gather for a quick freestyle session. This musical warm-up not only relaxed the mood but also helped them connect to the cultural roots of the story. It's said that these sessions sparked creative energy that carried into their performances, especially in scenes where rhythm and language flow naturally. However, the production wasn't without its challenges. Shooting on location in a busy urban area meant contending with uncontrollable variables, from unpredictable weather to spontaneous crowds. One day, a planned outdoor shoot was nearly derailed by a sudden downpour. Rather than postpone, the director saw an opportunity and decided to incorporate the rain into the scene. The result was a striking, moody sequence that added emotional depth and visual texture. This adaptability became a hallmark of the production, with the team frequently turning obstacles into creative advantages. Logistical hurdles also arose around securing permits and coordinating with local authorities. Harlem streets are narrow and often congested, making it difficult to control traffic and pedestrian flow during filming. The production worked closely with community leaders and local police to navigate these challenges, fostering goodwill that allowed the shoot to proceed smoothly. This cooperation reflected the filmmakers' respect for the neighborhood and their desire to tell the story with integrity. One of the more surprising behind-the-scenes stories involves a scene shot late at night on a quiet street. The cast was performing a tense confrontation when a group of curious local teenagers gathered to watch. Their presence added an electric tension to the set, with the actors feeding off the energy of a live audience. After filming, the director invited the teens to stick around, leading to an impromptu discussion about the film's themes and the realities of life in Harlem. This moment underscored the film's deep connection to its community and the reciprocal relationship between art and audience. The crew's dynamics were equally important in shaping the production. Long hours and tough conditions tested everyone's stamina, but the sense of shared mission kept morale high. The production team became like a family, supporting each other through technical glitches, late-night shoots, and last-minute changes. Stories of small acts of kindness, sharing food, helping carry equipment, offering words of encouragement, are peppered throughout the film's making. There was also plenty of humor on set, which provided relief amid the intensity. For instance, during a particularly grueling day, an actor's improvised joke about the city's famous potholes had the whole crew laughing, breaking the tension and reminding everyone to find joy even in tough moments. These lighter episodes created bonds that strengthened the collaborative spirit. Technical challenges also surfaced. The film's cinematographer wanted to capture Harlem's unique light, the interplay of natural sunlight filtering through fire escapes, the glow of neon signs at night, but urban settings pose problems with inconsistent lighting and reflections. The crew experimented with creative lighting rigs and carefully chosen shooting times to achieve the desired aesthetic. Sometimes, they had to wait hours for the perfect light, demonstrating patience and dedication. Sound recording presented its own set of difficulties. Capturing clear dialogue amid city noise required innovative solutions. The sound team employed directional microphones, hidden booms, and strategic blocking to minimize unwanted sounds while preserving the ambient feel of the neighborhood. On occasion, actors had to perform multiple takes to overcome passing sirens or street noise, a test of endurance and focus. An amusing behind-the-scenes moment involved a prop car used in a chase sequence. The car's horn got stuck in the on position during a take, blaring continuously and startling everyone on set. The crew had to pause while the prop department scrambled to fix the issue, but the incident became a running joke throughout filming, symbolizing the unpredictability of production life. The director's approach to working with actors was famously hands-on and supportive. He encouraged improvisation and emotional risk-taking, creating a safe space for actors to explore their characters deeply. This collaborative atmosphere led to some of the film's most powerful scenes, where spontaneous moments of vulnerability emerged organically. There was a particularly moving story from the filming of an emotionally charged scene. The lead actor, grappling with the weight of his character's pain, struggled to maintain composure during takes. The director recognized the need for a break, allowing the actor time to gather himself. This sensitivity and respect for the creative process nurtured trust and authenticity. Costuming also brought its share of behind-the-scenes tales. The wardrobe department meticulously sourced vintage clothing to reflect early 80s Harlem, but on occasion, actors would tweak their outfits with personal touches, blending character and self. One actor added a pair of worn sneakers from his own collection, which became a subtle signature on screen and a symbol of authenticity. Makeup and hairstylists worked closely to maintain period accuracy and continuity, a challenge given the long shooting schedule. There were moments when weather and sweating threatened to disrupt carefully crafted looks, requiring quick fixes and adjustments. These details, while small, contributed significantly to the film's immersive quality. The film's production design team deserves mention for their painstaking work recreating interiors that felt lived in and authentic. From cluttered apartments to modest storefronts, every prop and decoration was chosen to tell stories about the characters' lives and environments. This attention to detail added layers of realism and emotional resonance. One fun anecdote involves a scene shot in a local Harlem diner. The cast and crew were treated to authentic home-cooked meals by the diner staff, fostering goodwill and a sense of community. These shared meals became a ritual, strengthening bonds and providing nourishment both physical and emotional. Throughout filming, the cast and crew frequently engaged in discussions about the story's social and cultural themes. These conversations deepened their understanding and commitment, turning the production into a space of learning and reflection. Many participants speak of the experience as transformative, expanding their perspectives. Despite the challenges, the production maintained a strong sense of humor and resilience. On days when technical issues or weather delays threatened morale, small celebrations, birthday cakes, music breaks, impromptu dance-offs, kept spirits high. These moments of joy underscored the human heart at the core of filmmaking. The wrap party was a heartfelt celebration, bringing together everyone involved to honor the hard work and shared journey. Stories and memories were exchanged, and there was a palpable sense of accomplishment and camaraderie. Many cast and crew members stayed in touch long after filming, their relationships forged in the crucible of creation. Reflecting on these behind-the-scenes insights reveals how the film's power stems not just from the script or performances, but from the collective dedication and humanity of everyone involved. The challenges faced and overcome, the surprises embraced, and the bonds formed all contributed to a work that resonates with authenticity and heart. It's a testament to the magic that happens when art, community, and collaboration come together to tell a story that matters. There's a profound richness in films that don't just tell a story but invite us to explore beneath the surface, to unravel the threads of meaning woven into every scene, every gesture, every shadow. This film is one such story, a tapestry dense with themes and symbolism that speak to timeless human struggles, societal realities, and the complexities of identity. As we embark on this deep dive into the film's themes and symbolism, I want us to move beyond the plot's surface drama and look at the ideas and images that echo through the narrative, enriching our understanding and emotional experience. At its core, the film grapples with the theme of ambition, the yearning for something better, a life beyond the constraints of circumstance. For Ace and his friends, ambition is both a driving force and a double-edged sword. It fuels their rise from obscurity, offering a glimpse of power, respect, and freedom, but it also exacts a heavy toll. The film doesn't romanticize ambition; instead, it portrays it as a complex, often painful journey marked by sacrifice and moral compromise. Ace's calculated entrance into the drug trade is emblematic of this theme, a pragmatic but fraught step into a world that promises empowerment but delivers peril. This theme resonates universally because it taps into the human desire for self-determination amidst structural barriers. The characters' ambitions are shaped and sometimes distorted by the socio-economic realities of Harlem in the early 80s: poverty, systemic neglect, racial marginalization. Their pursuit of success is not merely personal but a response to a world that offers few legitimate avenues for advancement. This context enriches the theme, situating ambition within a broader critique of inequality. Connected to ambition is the theme of loyalty and betrayal, which courses powerfully through the narrative. The friendships at the heart of the story, between Ace, Mitch, and Rico, are tested repeatedly as pressures mount and choices grow more consequential. Loyalty here is portrayed as both a source of strength and vulnerability. It binds the characters, offering support and identity, yet it also becomes a site of conflict and heartbreak when trust is broken. The film explores how loyalty can be complicated by survival instincts and shifting power dynamics. Mitch's impulsive actions and Ace's cautious strategies create fractures that speak to the fragility of bonds in a world rife with danger. Rico's ambitions further complicate these relationships, illustrating how personal goals can sometimes clash with collective loyalty. This tension between connection and self-interest drives much of the emotional drama and underscores the tragic dimensions of the story. Betrayal, when it occurs, is not depicted as simple treachery but as a painful consequence of circumstances and choices. It's a theme that invites empathy and reflection rather than condemnation. The narrative shows how trust is both precious and precarious, especially in environments shaped by scarcity and fear. This nuanced portrayal challenges simplistic notions of good and bad, instead highlighting human complexity. The theme of identity is deeply intertwined with the characters' journeys. Each character wrestles with questions of self-definition: who they are, who they want to be, and how they are seen by others. Ace's transformation from a modest dry-cleaning worker to a powerful figure in the drug trade encapsulates this struggle. His outward success masks an internal battle to reconcile ambition with integrity, loyalty, and belonging. This exploration of identity is framed against the backdrop of racial and cultural identity, adding layers of meaning. Harlem itself is more than a setting; it's a symbol of heritage, pride, and resilience. The film captures the cultural richness and complexity of this community, while also exposing the external pressures that shape individual and collective identities. The characters' navigation of these forces reflects broader themes of race, class, and social belonging. Symbolism permeates the film, enriching its thematic fabric with visual and narrative motifs that invite deeper interpretation. One recurring symbol is the street corner, a place of gathering, exchange, and power. It's where deals are made, alliances formed, and reputations built or broken. The corner represents both opportunity and danger, a microcosm of the character's world. Its presence in key scenes anchors the narrative in a specific social and spatial reality, emphasizing the importance of place in shaping destiny. Another potent symbol is money, which carries multiple meanings throughout the film. On one level, money represents success, freedom, and security, the rewards that drive the character's ambition. Yet it also symbolizes corruption, greed, and the cost of power. Scenes involving money often juxtapose moments of celebration with hints of impending loss or betrayal, underscoring its dual nature. This ambivalence invites reflection on the societal obsession with wealth and the moral compromises it can entail. Mirrors and reflections appear frequently as symbolic devices. Characters are often shown looking into mirrors or seeing their reflections in windows, moments that visually represent self-examination, duality, and identity conflict. These images underscore the tension between appearance and reality, who the characters want to be versus who they are, or how they see themselves compared to how the world sees them. The motif enriches the psychological depth of the film, inviting viewers to consider the complexities beneath surface identities. Doors and thresholds also carry symbolic weight. Characters are frequently framed in doorways or at thresholds, visually suggesting moments of transition, choice, or entrapment. These images reflect the characters' precarious positions, caught between past and future, freedom and confinement, hope and despair. The motif of crossing thresholds echoes the narrative's exploration of transformation and the costs associated with it. The motif of time recurs in subtle ways, through clocks, watches, and references to the passage of time. This symbolism connects to themes of urgency, mortality, and the fleeting nature of opportunity. The characters are often racing against time, whether to build their empire, repair relationships, or escape danger. Time's relentless progression adds tension and poignancy, reminding us that moments of choice carry lasting consequences. Violence in the film carries layered symbolic meanings. Beyond its literal function in the plot, violence symbolizes the destructive forces that shape the characters' lives, systemic oppression, broken systems, and internal conflicts. The portrayal of violence is unflinching and often quiet, emphasizing its tragic impact rather than sensationalizing it. This approach transforms violence into a symbol of loss, fractured trust, and the high stakes of survival. The recurring presence of windows and barriers, fences, bars, and walls, further symbolize entrapment and division. These physical separations reflect social and psychological boundaries, illustrating how characters are confined by external forces and internal fears. Yet, windows also offer glimpses of possibility, light, or escape, underscoring the tension between limitation and hope. The theme of family is woven intricately into the narrative and symbolism. Family relationships are depicted as sources of love, obligation, conflict, and identity. Scenes involving family members, especially Ace's interactions with his mother and sister, ground the story emotionally and thematically. Family becomes a symbol of both support and burden, shaping characters' motivations and vulnerabilities. The film also subtly explores masculinity and the pressures it entails. Characters navigate expectations of strength, control, and emotional restraint, often struggling with vulnerability and connection. This theme is expressed symbolically through physical postures, interactions, and cultural signifiers like clothing and language. The film invites a critical reflection on how societal norms shape gender roles and personal identity. All these themes and symbols are tightly interwoven with the plot and character arcs, enriching the narrative's emotional and intellectual resonance. For instance, Ace's ambition drives the story forward, but his loyalty and identity struggles create internal conflict that adds depth and tragedy. Symbolic elements like mirrors and thresholds visually echo these tensions, making the story not just about events, but about the meaning and consequence behind them. Mitch's volatility and impulsiveness are thematically linked to loyalty and betrayal, with their friendships unraveling reflecting broader themes of trust and survival. The symbolism of barriers and violence underscores the fragility and danger inherent in their world. Rico's role as mediator and strategist embodies themes of ambition and identity negotiation, with his actions reflecting the compromises and moral ambiguities the film seeks to explore. His character's navigation of social and personal boundaries echoes the symbolic motifs of thresholds and reflections. The film's ending, while tragic, resonates thematically as a meditation on consequence, loss, and the cyclical nature of ambition and violence. Symbolic imagery in the final scenes, such as the lingering presence of the street corner or the fading light, invites reflection on the enduring impact of choices and the tenuous hope for redemption or change. By weaving themes and symbolism seamlessly into plot and character, the film transcends genre conventions to become a rich, layered work that invites multiple viewings and deep contemplation. It challenges viewers to engage not only emotionally but intellectually, to consider the social contexts and human truths embedded in its story. This interplay of theme, symbol, and narrative creates a cinematic experience that is both gripping and thought-provoking. It reminds us that stories about survival and ambition are also stories about identity, loyalty, morality, and the search for meaning amid hardship. As we unpack these layers, we find a film that speaks not only to a specific time and place but to universal human experiences. Its themes echo beyond the screen, inviting us to reflect on our own lives, communities, and the forces that shape who we are. In the end, the film's rich tapestry of themes and symbolism makes it a powerful work of art, one that challenges, moves, and stays with us long after the final frame. It's a testament to the power of cinema to illuminate the complexities of the human condition through stories that are both particular and universal. There's an intricate artistry behind every frame of a film, an orchestration of techniques that shape how we see, feel, and understand the story unfolding before us. This film stands out not just for its compelling narrative and rich characters but for the way its filmmaking techniques come together to create an immersive, visceral experience. As we journey through the craft behind the camera, exploring sound design, editing, camera work, and production choices, we'll uncover how these elements weave together to amplify the film's atmosphere and emotional impact.